I've had some requests to do a video on fleshing, and I've had some comments there about the fact that I don't have kind of up close and personal footage and kind of tutorial of kind of what I'm doing. So I'm going to put together a video of how me, Solotrapper, Jake, how I do my coyote fleshing. And I'm not saying that this is the baseline template of how everybody does it or should do it, but what I have found over the years, this is kind of to the point that I have gotten to, and I'm going to show you my tools and my layout and kind of how I go about doing a coyote. And I don't know, I have not checked out this hide yet. I don't know what this is going to take and show me when I open it up, but I'll maybe do one that's a tougher coyote and one that's an easier coyote. We'll see what this one here brings, and this will be number one. So hope you guys enjoy the video, and I hope this helps you out. All right, these are my tools. This is what I use. I see some guys, they take and they use, I don't know what it is, the black-handled Zephyr flesher or whatever it's called. I use my beaver flesher. This is the only edge that I ever take and put on my coyote. You'll see kind of what I do with that. This one here I use for my ears and some little trimmings here and there. This is for nose and some of my trimmings, and my old trusty horsehair brush. This brush here has come in really handy. It's old. The ends are kind of wore and they were kind of rusty, but I've kind of preached about this thing a few times, and I love it for coyotes. It really does the trick. So those are my tools. So I'll just get these kind of assembled kind of where I need them. And I'll leave a little spot here for Barrett, my son, the cameraman, so that he can kind of get at where he needs to. I'll just take my papers over here. I guess I should also say, I saw my fleshing beam idea here. If you want to just zoom in on this, Barrett, I have it on a, I have my stand on a pivot. Got this idea from my good social media buddy, BT Trapper. Got it on a pivot on the wall so that I can take and clean it up, hang it up nice. And then I took and built a small little stand here, kind of pretty simple. Just a couple of base screws in here with a little stand that seats with my pail, and it's an easy cleanup. I just got her tarp strapped with a little wooden stump on the bottom. Works really good for me. You just got to use the tools that you have available to you. So let's see what we've got here. It looks like it'll be a large coyote, I think. We've got a large female. So I'm gonna try and do it so that I don't end up with a super long video. And so I'll just go about my business here, and I'll try to kind of chat about everything that I'm doing, but I don't want to take and drag it on and make a 35-minute video. So my start generally is I just take this knife, carve this cartilage out a little bit, try to cut it fairly flush, and if you've ever cut the tip of your finger off, your fingerprint, then you know you're trying to get a little bit too aggressive getting all that out. So my start is nose, then I take and I get the heavy sinew and his whiskers and his lips. I get this started. I just trim that back, and I think this coyote here might end up with about a medium quality thickness of hide, and so that's kind of something that you're trying to stay aware of as you go about your fleshing process, especially with your two-handed flesher, to kind of ensure that your awareness keeps you from putting too much pressure on where you don't need it and jamming holes. So I don't finish the lips at this process. I leave the rest of that for boarding. I just kind of get a good start on this, get these down to kind of a manageable place. Sorry Barrett, the light's kind of bad there. And then what I'll do is I'll take and I'll just get his eyebrow whiskers, get those little meaty bubbles kind of started there. Oh, got into the hide a little bit. You want to kind of cut that out there. And then I do all the rest of my the head fleshing. I do it all with my two-handed flesher. Just do a little bit of the base work, get that up to the ears. You got to be a little bit careful. Generally what happens is during skinning you might nick your the eyelids a little bit, so just trying to be a little bit careful. And so I just maneuver my fur around with my two-handed flesher. Come down on the low side of the eyes. Get that meat off of there. Top of the lips. Tighten that fur up a little bit. And you got to be careful right down here. Well, I'll show you on the other side, Barrett. I'll just finish this side up a little bit here. And when you're scraping down the sides right here, you got to be careful. When the fur bubbles up, when you kind of go down the side here, you're just really lightly scraping just to get that hide stretched onto your stretcher. Got that side done. Move this fur over. So right here, there's a couple more whiskers, so you're trying to be just a little bit careful that you're not too aggressive over top of them. There they are, them right there. The rest of that we'll take and get when we finish that on the board. I always find when I do videos, it's better to kind of do a voiceover, but I'm going to try and do this. For me, it kind of distracts me a little bit from what I'm doing. But that's about as far as I'm going to take that. Put that away, and then I'll do the ears. For the ears, it's taken me a little while to kind of get to the plan that I have. I'll take this little chunk of meat right here and I'll just skin that out a little bit. And I'll take and I'll just cut right through the opening here. Just open that up. and then take and do a little cut just to the edge of the ear right there. And in here I'll take and make this cut, and I'll come down towards about the middle of the base of that little piece of meat that I cut out. Then I come around the back. Sometimes this chunk here is a little big, and then I just start working this ear back a little bit. And I have found that if I get that edge exposed right there, same as this side, that'll take and get that ear prepped for my thumb. Same thing, cut that into the middle, same as that side. And I don't know, I like putting my fur up where I'm comfortable with my finished product. And I don't know if I'm doing too much on the head or not enough. I know they don't use that hide, but then for me, last year I took and I busted the cartilage in my thumb, so I had to switch up how I was doing this, but I use my left thumb, and I'll do this on the one side, standing on one side. I won't even move around, just work that thumb in there. And it's kind of important that for me, I found that I have to have an awareness of where the edge of the ear is kind of at all times. You really have to kind of develop a technique where you're pulling around the outside of that ear. If you try to get a little rammy, I've seen guys that they pull their steel through and they manage to take and grab that ear cartilage with a needle nose. But for me, it doesn't work very good. That is the way that I do ears. Then my next step, start right from between the ears. And I can see this coyote has got good fat. I don't know how much scarring it has. It has some, but generally speaking, it should be a decently fleshing coyote. When I roll my flesher over top of that, just the way I just did, I don't do it with a ton of pressure. Because the moment that you're trying to get too aggressive right here, see that dark spot scar? I can see this coyote has got a lot of scarring, so I'm going to make sure that I do more passes as opposed to trying to be aggressive with just a few passes, because being too aggressive, I'll smash these right open real quick. And the worst for me is sewing. I don't like to sew if I don't have to. I've got a feeling this coyote's got shoulder mites. We'll see. I like to go straight down the entire back one time. A lot of times what I do when I'm skinning, this piece right here, I like to keep this piece of, I try to be careful doing the tail, and then that middle piece of meat off the whole back comes off. This one here, for whatever reason, it didn't grab, so I'll end up fighting this guy just a little bit. Add a little bit of time to fleshing. Very important that you keep your edge clear. work this again. There's an opening right there. There's no need to sew that, but if you're going to flush that too aggressively, you're going to take and smash that right wide open. I do anyway. You see a lot of dark spots here behind the fur. When you get a really, really old coyote, they don't have fat, and they develop this gristle. And the advice that I'll give, especially to a youngster that's learning, still haven't invested in a tail splitter, the advice that I'll give to a youngster is stop fleshing before you get to trying to overflesh and over clean your hide, because that's where it's a great time to take and put holes in your fur. So sometimes you just got to kind of cut your losses, and you'll also find that a little bit of the residue, if any, will take and wipe right off later. So I can see the back end here will be kind of tough fleshing. Just want to kind of give myself a little bit of a start there. Just try to walk some of that off, get that prepped for when I get back here. That'll be good enough. Then I'll come back, put the eye of that coyote on the front of my fleshing beam, kind of helps hold it. And then again, now I'm back to easy fleshing. Don't be scared to give it quite a few passes to test that all out. Scars, any little burrs that you might have missed. Also, when if you have a dry snare spot, and once you kind of run your flesher a few times, you can kind of feel whether it's smooth, and once you stop picking up stuff, you're done. Flip that over to the other side. You can see here that that looks almost dried there. I want to try to be careful, not pull that open. And when I go here like this on the edge of that beam, I'm really, really gentle. Really careful that I don't put pressure on that. Right here, he's got another scar right there. Easy to open that up on his front leg if you're not careful. Roll that back. Now I'm going to go down the belly. Again, you got to kind of start, feel it out, and just walk. When you get underneath a big chunk like this, a little bit of pressure and just kind of walking it off, as opposed to trying to push it off. And then just kind of roll across the rest of that fur just to kind of keep it straightened out. Very, very gentle under those front legs there. Cruising across the belly there, really kind of touch and go, males and females. You can take and really open them up by getting too aggressive. I don't know if that's an infection on the teat right there, but that right there would be a prime candidate to smash another hole in. So instead of being too aggressive, just leaving a little bit behind there. Doesn't hurt. You really got to pay attention to what it feels like, because all them little spots there, they do all want to open up. Get that bottom edge cleaned up a little bit. Bring it back to a front leg. And now I'll just take and I'll just clean from both edges. Kind of start one edge and really gently, because the skin is so thin there, just ever so gently. And then again, I've got another black spot there. This is a tough hide. Low grade hide is what this one will be. Get a little bit of that fat there. And then just take, so now you're working strip between the belly and the back that you've left. And we'll work that all the way down. Not a bad. There's a burr underneath the hide there. I can feel that. Like I said, I try to not overflesh to the point where I'm just wrecking a fur. And this one here with the scars, and I've missed some of the burrs in the hide, in the fur. I just don't want to find myself opening it up, especially if it's something that I can just comb out really easy there on the belly and the inside of that back leg. This turned out to be a tough skinning coyote. Now once I get to the back here, you just try to kind of feel for the possible amount of scarring that it has, how hard you're pushing, and I'm transitioning my fur to not scrape down the back side of the leg, but to actually scrape kind of at an angle and down. And you will be putting some push on here, but again, you're just trying to kind of feel your tool and feel the hide and its conditions. One pass here will take that a long big chunk off of there. And that piece right there, when you're pulling that off, if you have an improper angle, what can happen is you can end up with a cut that'll just come riding in. You can really bring a cut in from the belly, and you can also take and bring a cut in off of the back here. If you're not careful, if you're going to be too aggressive in your angle that you're pulling in and off of. So again, if you're going to push straight along that edge, you can cut and pull a real hole, open that hide right up. So you're just, practice makes perfect. It's, I find for me, it's obviously being able to do 10 coyotes in a day, it takes and speeds up your efficiency. Try to get some of these little guys off of here. There we go. That's that side. We'll come back. We'll grab this one. I'm on the back here, so I can afford to put a little pressure on there. Pull a little strip off. And I've developed a technique that works for me for cleaning the edges of my two-handed flesher. Really important that you try to not work with a flesher that's all got the edges all jammed up with crud. The more you keep cleaning it, the better off you're going to be. All these scars by the inside of the leg here, I'm trying to be real careful. Don't want to open that up. Once I'm done fleshing, I'll take and I'll open this hide up and we'll see. I really have my doubts. I caught a couple of rough looking coyotes. Just trying to walk that spot off of that scar there. Oh, there you go. Seems like sometimes they have infected teats. I don't know if it's just old. I'm not a biologist. I keep saying it in my videos. If I had it to do over again, I'd love to have a biology degree behind me. It would sure probably assist in some curiosities. Really heavy scarring. These females, they get put through a lot. It's not a very kind process in the wild. This one here was caught, like I'm gonna say February 1st. It is getting into that time where the males are really getting on them. Not too bad. I don't think they're full on in mating season yet, but and it's not uncommon to find females being like, you can get, like, especially smaller females, they'll get really chewed up in the winter. Just try to clean this up a little bit here. And again, I'm just getting to the point with this coyote here that I refuse to keep going. I'm trying to get rid of that stuff there, because I know that the equation is such that I'm going to take and smash holes in. So you got to know when to put that flesher down. Try to keep a tidy work area. Not my best coyote, but that's it right there. She's all fleshed up, ready to go. We'll see what we've got here for a coyote. Yeah, shoulder mites. So we've got a shoulder mite coyote right there. Pretty big patch in that hide. I mean, if you're standing these hair straight up, this spot here behind the neck and head, good spot right here. The bottom part of him is an otherwise really nice looker. Nothing wrong with that quality right there. But you could see from all the scarring and stuff in there that if I were to take and get a little rammy with him with my flesher, I'd be smashing him up pretty good. I'll just take this towel out, tuck his face in there. I'll roll him up. Stuff them in my bag. Once they're all done, I will take and board them. That's it. That's me fleshing a coyote. I tried to not make the video too long. I'm not sure how long it is, but I wanted to make it so that it's manageable for viewing. And yeah, that's how I do it. Again, I keep saying it. I try to make sure that I don't take and I don't like putting big holes in them. And you got to try to kind of walk with an awareness while you're working it. If I'm going to take and give advice to a youngster that's getting into it, yeah, try not to be overly aggressive. Give yourself more passes, and I'll try to find another coyote to do a video on that might be a little bit of an easier flesher. See how it goes.